gonna cover that angle. You're gonna have to go through this area. We're just gonna cover that angle. We'll go after him. Yeah, they're lighting him up pretty good. Good job. They got him under to that one. They're coming through. Okay, currently the Thai police instructors for EOD are establishing various different booby traps in this type of urban training environment. And there's 5 objectives for today's mission. This is one of the culminating events for Ramir's Challenge, where EOD and SWAT work together in order to be able to resolve an issue and achieve an objective.
Lieutenant Colonel Sangari had 6 years of continuous combat deployment, 144 patrols, 22 Special Forces missions, and 2 key direct action operations. He survived 7 improvised explosive attacks and 1 enemy checkpoint engagement with no loss of life, and was awarded the Combat Action Badge for the operations. He conducted 670 key leader and tribal leader engagements in support of multiple counterinsurgency operations to counter enemy influence and terrorist activities in the region. He wrote 3 major policy papers for the Special Operations Forces and the Marines on federalism and governance, and he wrote an executive summary on civil military operations. These documents were used as a guideline for conducting civil engagements in Iraq. The policies legitimized 3 newly elected city councils and 2 mayors in Al-Anbar province to counter enemy influence, which directly allowed a new approach in support of the Sons of Iraq efforts in Iraq. Lieutenant Colonel Sangari has also conducted over 17,000 civil military operations, foreign internal defense support operations, non-combat evacuations, and disaster relief and emergency management missions. He conducted over 7,000 humanitarian missions to mitigate citywide emergencies covering provincial and regional shortfalls throughout the Middle East in support of unconventional warfare, irregular warfare, direct action, and contingency operations. Lieutenant Colonel Sangari planned, resourced, and executed the reception and integration of military personnel from the U.S. Army, North Atlantic Treaty Organization executive officers, and well-known civilian interagency personnel from 6 different U.S. civilian agencies, thus laying the groundwork for a coordinating reconstruction and development activities cell for operations in Afghanistan. This Specialty Skills Initiative became a pilot and a case study for how the Army recruits, trains, and conducts future civil military operations in both accessible and remote areas of the world. two major projects which Lieutenant Colonel Sangari took on were the analysis, designs, and developments of metrics and standards used to accredit the United States Special Warfare Center and School in both training and education to include assessments and accreditation of the training which affected all civil affairs, special forces, psychological operations, and other special units personnel totaling between 15 to 20,000.
As an American, when I was young, I wondered, as a child wonders, what should I do when I grow up? My parents raised me with the love of my nation in my heart. There's a voice in some people's lives which calls out, "Be a soldier." It is that time when a man or a woman sees a need to stand taller. Remember the system mistakes. Debate the issue. Challenge my proposals and any proposals I put on the table. Hold your leadership accountable. Don't just believe what they say, verify and validate what they say. It's the onus is on you. You want me to be a better leader? You better put the scope in my chest, and you better be asking the tough questions. Americans have always been ready because we always respond. We do not shrink away from fear, but we walk towards our adversary.
Today's fundraiser is sponsored by the men and women of the Legion of St. Michael Law Enforcement Motorcycle Club, along with other first responders. On behalf of the international president and founder of the Legion of St. Michael LEMC, Officer Daniel Diaz, I would like to thank all who are attending our event today. A special thank you to Mr. Kevin W. Graham, President of the Board of the Chicago FOP, and his board members for allowing us to use the Chicago FOP Lodge number 7 for our event. Today in the audience, we also have the presidents and members of Health Craddock, G Unit Central Illinois President, Paul Joseph Mother Chapel Associate Member, and Art Ellington, Vietnam veteran. At this time, we would like to open the ceremony with the benediction. The benediction will be given by Reverend Father Antoine Latchett of St. John Church of the Holy Apostolic Assyrian Church of the East. Father Latchett is also the lead chapel for the Assyrian AMVET post number 5. Assyrian Americans were the first to establish an AMVET post in Illinois, and the second group of Americans to set up an AMVET post to the continental United States, with AMVET post number 5 being established in Chicago. If you can, please rise for the benediction.
Good evening to you all. I'm pleased and humbly honored to stand here and to say this opening prayer, which is mainly for you, men and women, the first responders. In 1 Timothy 2, verse 1 to 4, I urge them, first of all, that petitions, prayers, and recession and thanksgiving be made for all people, for kings and all those in authority, that we may live peaceful and quiet life in all goodness and holiness. This is good and pleases God, our Savior, who wants all people to be saved and to come to a knowledge of the truth. O Heavenly Father, we are so blessed to have men and women who work diligently for our safety and well-being, even when their jobs are difficult and often thankless. Help us remember to thank you for their sacrifices and services to our community. May we touch heaven with prayers and gratitudes whenever we see or personally encounter first responders. Give them the strength that you provide so that as they serve, you will be honored. O our Father, please keep our first responders emotionally strong but spiritually tender when they are confronted by the evil and brokenness around them. Give them your peace as they deal with the pain and suffering of others, and at times experience injustice. May they have compassion for those whose lives are broken, and may they demonstrate kindness to them. Help them to recognize that when others express hate and anger toward them, they can find their security in you. O Lord God, the families of the first responders experience so much stress and fear. Bring your peace to their families. Lord, help them, men and women, to keep their eyes fixed upon you so that they might love their spouses and that you have instructed, and so that they might train up their children in godly ways. Help them to find quality and quantity time with their families. Gracious God, first responders have such dangerous job. Help them to dwell in your shadow. May you always be their refuge in difficult situations. May they trust in you completely, moment by moment. Show them your power when they find themselves in unsafe situations, or when they face people who threaten to harm them. Keep them safe for the glory of your name. Because he loves me, says the Lord, I will rescue him. I will protect him, for he acknowledges my name. He will call on me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble, and I will deliver him and honor him with long life, and I will satisfy him and show him my salvation. May God bless you all. Thank you.
In 1969, the year my father was born, Mr. Richard Red Skeleton, who is best known for his national radio and television shows, told his audience a story called The Principal of Harrison School in Vincent, Indiana, which is 4 hours south of Chicago, had seen Mr. Skeleton and his classmates reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. In doing so, he had approached Mr. Skeleton and his classmates and said to them that quote, I have been listening to you boys and girls recite the Pledge of Allegiance all semester, and it seems as though it's becoming monotonous to you. If I may I recite it and try to explain the meaning of each word? I, me, an individual, a committee of one, pledge, dictated, all of my worldly goods to give without self-pity, allegiance, my love and my devotion, to the flag, our standard, old glory, a symbol of freedom. Where she waves, there's respect, because your loyalty has given her a dignity that shouts freedom in everybody's jaw. United, that means that we all have to come together. States, individual communities that have united into 48 great states. 48 individual communities with pride, dignity, and purpose, all divided with imaginary boundaries, but united to a common purpose, and that is love for the country and to the republic. Republic, a state in which sovereign powers is invested in representatives chosen by the people to govern. All the government is equal, and it's from the people to the leaders, not from the leaders, for which it stands. One nation, meaning so blessed by God, indivisible, and capable of being divided, with liberty, which is freedom to the right and the power in one's own life without threats or fears of some sort of retaliation. And justice, the principle or qualities of dealing fairly with others. For all, which means boys and girls, but as much as your country as it is mine. Since Red Skeleton was a young boy, 2 states were added to the Union, and those words are under God. At this time, if you can please stand and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Joining us today is also Ms. Charlene Foss-Eggman, the Vice Chairman of Illinois Republican Party. Ms. Foss has been the cornerstone of Republican Party efforts in the 9th Congressional District since 2018. Please join me in a show of appreciation for Ms. Foss and a round of applause.
Thank you. I have 3 boys, but if I had daughters, I would want them to be just like yours, Sardis. Thank you for welcoming me today, and most important thing I want to say, other than thanking Sardis for running, is thanking all of the first responders and veterans in the room for being willing to put yourselves on the line and take a bullet for us, if necessary, to keep us safe and defend our freedoms. And I can't thank you enough. So thank you for that. And I want you to know that I stand with you, and so does President Trump and the entire Republican Party. As you said, I'm involved in the Republican Party. It's just a fancy title for a volunteer to have. I just got involved again heavily in the Illinois Republican Party about 10 years ago. I'm a lifelong Republican, but I looked around at Illinois and thought, you know what, we can do better. Where I live, what I saw were Republicans supporting Democrats and acting like Democrats, and that wasn't okay. And I thought, you know what, I'm just a helper, but maybe I can make a difference. And for a long time, I've been waiting for a candidate like Sardis Sangari to come along. He is truly a special man. His personal story is very moving, but I can't say enough about what he has done for his country and continues to do for our country. When people want to run for office, they'll come to the party and they'll tell us about their interest. And I'm here to help anybody in any way I can, but I always ask them, what is your why? Why do you want to do this? And a lot of people have different motivations. Some are not always obvious. Some people want to be loved. Some people want to be powerful. Some people want to be wealthy. Some people have, mixed motives, but the kind of candidate that you look for is the candidate who wants to do it because they love their country so much, and they love liberty, and they love free markets, and they love their flag. And that's the only thing that should be motivating to run for office. And that's what I look for in a candidate. And Sargis has that in spades. He is truly the most selfless candidate that I have ever worked with, because that is his one why, and that is his only why he's running, is for us. And he'll carry that banner throughout this entire race through November for the 9th Congressional District. And all along, he'll be lifting people up along the way. He'll be talking about his faith. He'll be talking about national defense. He'll be talking about the economy. He'll be talking about all the issues of the day, and he'll be making our party and our platform stronger for it. And he wants to leave everybody in a better place and leave the 9th Congressional District in a better place. And I just couldn't think of a better standard bearer than Sargis. So thank you for putting yourself out there. You've already sacrificed so much in our military for your career, and you continue to do so with consulting with our government and all that you do. So first, you're willing to take a bullet for us, and now you're putting yourself out there again at great risk, because running for office is no picnic. You put yourself out there, your name, your family. You lay it all bare, what I believe, what I don't believe. And you put yourself up for scrutiny, and people are going to disagree with you. Not everybody's going to have the same views. And in a lot of ways, for many people, that's even scarier than, standing on the front lines. So what kind of depth of character does that show, that he is willing to do these things for us and keep pushing, even with his beautiful young family? So it's a lot of time and sacrifice, so thank you for that. I just want to say we've come off a really tough period in our country. As you know, our president was acquitted this week. Yeah. And I want to thank you all for standing with our President Donald Trump through these times. And that is Exhibit A, why we need Sargis in the House of Representatives. We know that that was a purely partisan hoax, and if we had held a majority, it would have been taken to the extreme that it was. And the current representative in the 9th Congressional District was, in fact, the far left, unfortunately, has captured what used to be a mainstream Democratic Party. So it's never more dangerous and more scary. And it's time to make this country great, embodied by Sargis, representing us in the 9th Congressional District. So thank you all for coming out and supporting Sargis. Thank you for supporting our president. Thank you for being our line of defense for our families, for our safety, for our freedom. We love you, we support you, and thank you so much for coming tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Foss, for the kind words and encouragement. As I stated earlier, the international president and founder of the Legion of St. Michael Law Enforcement Motorcycle Club, Officer Daniel Diaz. Tonight's event would not have been possible without her leadership and support. At this time, I would like to invite the President Diaz to the stage to lead us in a moment of silence for all of our fallen men and women in blue to deliver the welcome address.
Good evening, everyone. As we do in our meetings for the Legion of St. Michael, we we always stop before we discuss any business. We take a moment for fallen officers that die in line of duty. For the officers here, we know that last couple of weeks have been horrible. We've lost several officers violently, and I'd like to just take a couple of seconds and moment of silence for them and their families, because they're not gonna be with them anymore. So we honor them at all of our meetings before we do anything. So just a minute, please. Thank you. I'd like to first thank the Legion of St. Michael and all our brothers. Thank you guys for helping get this event together. It takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of shuffling and putting things together, but we can't do this without you guys. I want to just give a special thanks also to my brother, Paul Joseph, who last minute we needed some big time help to get this going, and thank you for coming through. For those that don't know me, my name is Daniel Diaz. My road name here at the club is Bear. I'm a 27-year Chicago FOP veteran. I still am active. I work in the special functions unit. This club means everything to me. This is how we get together as brothers, and we're able to sit down and we're able to talk, laugh, cry. But the one thing that we had was unity, and we're here for each other. And I'm very proud. 4 years ago, I was sitting with Paul. Paul's my neighbor, and he said, "Hey, I want to introduce you to a very good friend of mine, Sergeant Cigar." And he came by. We sat down. We went to the back, and we just started talking. And the more I listened to him, I knew that we had a leader. I'm an Army veteran myself, and it's just we lose, and we lost, and we're losing. The more I listened to him, I knew that we don't have a voice, a leader. I'm an Army veteran myself, and it's just we lose, and we lost, and we're losing. The more I listened to him, I knew that we had to do whatever we could to help get him elected. 4 years later, we become very good friends, and the guy rides a motorcycle, and he rides. And in our club, you have to be a first responder, police, fire, military, and he fits that bit. And he is a member of the Legion of St. Michael. He's our national representative. He's my friend. I know that getting elected, I know that we will have a voice for all our brothers and sisters that are fallen, for the guys that are struggling as they're injured. And when our government fails us, or we need help, I know that at least we can do our part, getting Sergeant selected and have him be a voice for us and for our families, because God forbid if one of us go down, I would want someone who's elected to represent my family. So to you, brother, we wish you all the luck in the world. We pray for you. We pray for your safety. We pray for your health. We just pray that you're able to get there. And we're going to do everything we can to help you there. So my brother, thank you, and we love you.
Thank you, Officer Diaz, for your kind words and support for my dad. In 1988, a young Assyrian female immigrant who had escaped the Iranian Revolution decided to join the Chicago Fire Department and became the first Assyrian female firefighter in the history of the Chicago Fire Department. She served the citizens of our city for over 27 years, retiring in 2014. She continues to serve as a caretaker and a nurse in our city today. This woman, who has also been an inspiration to me, is here. At this time, I would like to invite my Aunt Sabrina Sangari to the stage. Please help me in welcoming her and thanking her for her service by a round of applause.
Hi, I'm Sabrina Sangari, Sarka Sangari's older sister. And as you guys heard, I'm a retired paramedic from Chicago Fire Department. I got on the job in 1988, and I was the first Assyrian American to get on the job as a paramedic. I retired in 2014, decided to move to suburb and live off my pension and start working for private sector. I work as a nurse for United Airlines Health at this time. I know all the sacrifices that you guys make on an everyday basis to save people of Chicago. First responder, they put their own life on line to protect people that they never even met. You just go to the call, you meet them, you put your lives on line, and you try to protect them. And at times those people don't appreciate what you do for them, but I know as a citizen of Chicago, as my brother understands firsthand what we go through. He saw how much sacrifice I made personally on day to day, missing parties, missing get-togethers, and just trying to, serve the city of Chicago. And we understand what we guys go through on an everyday basis. So, and being my younger brother, he has his discipline and integrity, and of course, he's my younger brother. There's times that as older sister, we understand the relationship between younger and older. But I promise you, I want him to be representing me in the 9th district, and I do appreciate all of you guys coming here to give some support. I give you the time from your side, yes, and here.
Thank you, so. I wasn't sure where I was gonna head to. You're gonna be good to your older sister. Sometimes it might come out of the wash, as he said. First of all, I'm gonna thank everybody for being here. Thanks, Bear, for coordinating this. Paul Joseph is the glue that keeps us together all the time. If it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't have met the boys in the League of St. Michael. All you guys look great, man. The colors look outstanding again. First of all, I'm going to thank, most of all, a young lady, 14 years old. She's my daughter. I could be a little bit biased about it, but I dumped this ceremony as far as being the master of ceremonies in her lap late last night at around 10 o'clock. I said, you're going to do it. That's it. And she went to school, came back, and you could tell from the first time looking at what had to be discussed, she did a pretty good job. So I'm going to give my hands to my own daughter. Guys, I served 20 years in the service. When I was preparing to what I was going to say to the first responders here, I really wasn't sure. I was kind of, searching around to see what I want to talk about. So I was going through my files, and I came across something that, you don't think about it when you're in the service, but it's something that you have to do in the Special Operational Forces. The last document that I ever had to hand to the Sergeant Major of the unit as I took my team out to do our operations was I had to write my own obituary. And I actually had to be written on that Lieutenant, at that time Major Sangari, died on the battlefield, and then there's a line, and then they fill that in for you, and then the last piece of that obituary has to mention your family members. So it says he's remembered by his wife, mother-in-law, sisters, and family. And at that time, I only had 2 of my kids. So Sargo, my youngest, and Natalia, my youngest daughter were not even born. You know, I had to send my dad to go to war. Thank God that that obituary didn't have to be used. But on a daily basis, I know that you guys go out there and do it every day. So literally, that's what you're doing. You're putting that on the line. Today, Raymond Powley, which is a cousin of mine, was supposed to be here from that police officer to speak, but he got a call last minute, and he went on that call. And the only thing I could tell him is be safe, because you don't know what's around the corner. And you all know that. I understand that. I also thanked the Assyrian Police Association members that are here today, and Father Appalachian, and also the, my daughter said, the Reverend for the Assyrian Police Association. Thank you for being here, guys. I was looking through some of the documents today, and I came across a House resolution. It's unfortunate, but this is what you're going to run into, guys. There's a House resolution that is going around right now, and it was by sheer luck that I saw it today. And it's seriously looking at how it's going to go ahead and affect what the police officers are going to have to deal with in years to come. So this House Resolution 5779 is to provide that in case of a law enforcement officer who uses deadly force against a person and thereby causes the death of that person, a hearing shall be conducted before a judge to determine whether there is a probable cause for the state to bring criminal charges against a law enforcement officer relating to the death of a person and for other purposes. You know, the last time I saw something this ridiculous was when the Marines in Alhambra were told that you cannot shoot at the enemy until the enemy shoots at you. And I literally sat in that convoy where the enemy was shot at the convoy, and the Marine and the gun truck didn't shoot back. The car turned around, came back up again, shot at the convoy. The Marine didn't shoot back. The enemy took off. Not understanding why the Marine is not shooting back. And I asked the Marine, how come you're not shooting back? Like, sir, to be honest, we're confused. We don't want to put the police officers in these type of positions. And unfortunately, this is what it does, it really handcuffs you. You need guys in Congress to be able to stop this. And, you know, the people who introduce us from the other party could never introduce us when they control the presidency and they control the House. They didn't do it. Why didn't they do it? Because it wasn't going to make political sense for them to do it at that time. Now that they know that they're about to lose votes in the coming election, and they want to be able to go ahead and divide Americans into two different factions, where do you divide them? Don't make the police officers the bad guys, so we can go ahead and win votes. They only work for the next election. If you're not at the table, you don't have a voice. I realized that in 5 years. In 5 years, we provided enough documents to the National Security Council, both administrations, provided information to the Near East Affairs, Iraqi desk, under both administrations. And every time you gave them information with the wanton desire that they read it, they digested it, and tried to do good, when it fell into the political arena, it became a mess. It's unfortunate that this is what is being done now in Washington. These type of House resolutions are being proposed for one reason only: to put our first responders in a position where they're handcuffed more. You're out there, you're busting your behind, nonstop. You don't know what's going to happen. Just like I put my obituary in the hands of the sergeant major before I got on bus and took off for downrange. You do it on a daily basis. You come home, you got to deal with family issues. There's a lot of them, regardless. Life has everything in it. It has everything you could think about. And then in that entire process, and you going through a door and trying to resolve an issue because you're dedicated to helping these people that you don't know even who they are. Now you're going to have people sitting in Congress writing laws to use it for political gains so they could garner votes, so they could go back into the office. And by the way, this particular House resolution is the same House resolution that is being supported by the person I'm running against. This is what it is. This is what it is. So that the state can bring criminal charges against law enforcement officers relating to the death of a person and for other purposes. Go find out what the other purposes is. Today you go in, somebody calls you in on a call, you go to their house, you take care of the issue. The person who has called you is satisfied, happy that you helped them resolve the issue. And then 5 minutes later, some organization out there that's being supported by these congressional leaders on the far left is turning around and trying to help the person who has violated the law to sue the individual officers. And you have to deal with this on a daily basis. This is not going to happen. Now, thank God that if this ever made it out of the Senate, that I should say out of the House, that the Senate would kill it. It wouldn't let it breathe and the president would never sign it. But the reality is, the only reason they did this was to garner votes. That's it. If they wanted it and cared about these issues, they would have done it when they control the House, when they control the presidency. Look, if I don't run, I cannot advocate for them. I am going to give an opportunity to the people in this district, the 9th Congressional District, to vote me in. They have given the current incumbent 20 years. In 20 years, 5, maybe a handful of possible laws that were passed, or I should say those that became laws, and also dysfunctional at best. This is not how civilian world will allow you to progress in your career. Unfortunately, these people in Congress are able to maintain their positions. And I am going to give the Democratic Party, in this case, I've been running as a Republican, to fix their party. How do they fix their party? You've given this person 20 years. You can see the disarray that has been caused in your party. If you have been dedicated for the Democratic Party, God bless you, you worked hard. But why would you want to take all those 20, 30 years and just flush it? Go to a person who's actually been nominated, actually understands there's consequences to decisions, who has fought on battlefields, and is now here saying, I'm willing to do the work. Give me 2 years to do the work. You gave her 20 years. In those 2 years, if I can't get the work done for you, let me out. What do you got to lose? Nothing. You know what you got to gain? You are going to be able to take your party back again. Because right now it's been hijacked by individuals who are just destined to destroy every institution we have. We have come to a point where the word on the street that they want to propose to everybody is that our schools and institutions are broken. Our teachers are not capable. Our unions are not able to do anything. Our police is bad. These are talking points that a socialist, communist government would feed into every aspect of capable governments to destroy it from internal within, in order to say, we have a solution for it. Well, the solution, the best solution that you have right now, and the only solution I would say to the folks that are on the end of the aisle, is go to Colonel Singurian. All I can do is give you an opportunity. For you, my brothers, I'm going to do my best. I'm going to fight a hard campaign. I'm going to do it as ethical as possible. And we are going to win on 3 November. We are going to win in the night. And you will have a voice when it comes down to it at the end of the day in Congress. Because guess what? These type of laws and these type of resolutions will not breathe in a Congress that I'm sitting in. I won't allow it to go forward. Because we got to get our country on the right track. We got to give the power back to the first responders. We got to be able to have their back, protect them, get the stress off of them. More first responders die from suicide than you even have in shootings. We'll look at the numbers over the past so many years. It's a shame. I don't want to see that happen. I want to see you guys come back, spend time in gatherings like this with your loved ones, plan for your future, and allow to see your kids grow like I want to see my daughter grow. I love you all. I respect you all. God bless you all. And God bless the United States of America. Thank you, guys.
Could Pastor Anton please come up to the stage?
Okay. This is what I will conclude with a prayer this evening. It is Psalm 91, verse 1 to 4 and 14 to 6. Wherever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadows of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in whom I trust. Surely He will save you from the foes and sinners, and from the deadly pestilence. He will cover you with His fathers, and under the wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness will be your shield and rampart. So we ask you, God, that by your blessings and your kind love, may these servants of yours be blessed, kept from harm, and be saved under the wings of your fatherly love. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. This will conclude our ceremony. We have lots of food. We still have tickets for raffles. We're going to do that pretty soon. We're going to be raffling the items on the table here. So if you get the tickets, please get them. Everything that we collect goes into the Sargas Sangari. The boats and well, everyone among us. Let's go into our back. So if you haven't, please do so. We have tons of food. We have drinks and other good stuff. Let's get together and wish our brother lots of luck. And again, thank you all for coming. And please, manja.
Nope, stay here, stay here. He's gonna cover that angle. You're gonna have to go through this area right here. He's gonna cover that angle. Don't go after him, let him go. Yeah, they're lighting him up pretty good. Good job. They got him under to that one. They're coming Okay, currently the Thai police instructors for Rio, they are establishing various different booby traps in this type of urban training environment. And there's 5 objectives for today's mission. This is one of the culminating events for Raymond's Challenge, where EOD and SWAT work together in order to be able to resolve an issue and achieve an objective.
Lieutenant Colonel Sangari had 6 years of continuous combat deployment, 144 patrols, 22 Special Forces missions, and 2 key direct action operations. He survived 7 improvised explosive attacks and 1 enemy checkpoint engagement with no loss of life, and was awarded the Combat Action Badge for the operations. He conducted 670 key leader and tribal leader engagements in support of multiple counterinsurgency operations to counter enemy influence and terrorist activities in the region. He wrote 3 major policy papers for the Special Operations Forces and the Marines on federalism and governance, and he wrote an executive summary on civil military operations. These documents were used as a guideline for conducting civil engagements in Iraq. The policies legitimized 3 newly elected city councils and 2 mayors in Al-Anbar province to counter enemy influence, which directly allowed a new approach in support of the Sons of Iraq efforts in Iraq. Lieutenant Colonel Sangari has also conducted over 17,000 civil military operations, foreign internal defense support operations, non-combat evacuations, and disaster relief and emergency management missions. He conducted over 7,000 humanitarian missions to mitigate citywide emergencies covering provincial and regional shortfalls throughout the Middle East in support of unconventional warfare, irregular warfare, direct action, and contingency operations. Lieutenant Colonel Sangari planned, resourced, and executed the reception and integration of military personnel from the U.S. Army, North Atlantic Treaty Organization executive officers, and well-known civilian interagency personnel from 6 different U.S. civilian agencies, thus laying the groundwork for a coordinating reconstruction and development activities cell for operations in Afghanistan. This specialty skills initiative became a pilot and a case study for how the Army recruits, trains, and conducts future civil military operations in both accessible and remote areas of the world. The last 2 major projects which Lieutenant Colonel Sangari took on were the analysis, designs, and developments of metrics and standards used to accredit the United States Special Warfare Center and School in both training and education to include assessments and accreditation of the training which affected all civil affairs, special forces, psychological operations, and other special units personnel totaling between 15 to 20,000.
Black 5, Lima 3, it's to the left.
American, when I was young, I wondered, as a child wonders, what should I do when I grow up? My parents raised me with the love of my nation in my heart. There's a voice in some people's lives which calls out, "Be a soldier." It is that time when a man or a woman sees a need to stand taller. Remember the system mistakes. Debate the issue. Challenge my proposals and any proposals I put on the table. Hold your leadership accountable. Don't just believe what they say, verify and validate what they say. It's the onus is on you. You want me to be a better leader? You better put the scope in my chest, and you better be asking the tough questions. Americans have always been ready because we always respond. We do not shrink away from fear, but we walk towards our adversary.